Hi, I'm Tim, and this is another episode of Tim on Everything. As you can see, I'm still on Intrepid, probably for another year and a half anyways. And what I thought I'd talk about today, I got an email from a friend of mine the other day, and he seemed a little distraught over how things were going in his life. So, this is kind of my response to him. Just seemed to be easier than writing my response down, and I thought it might be interesting enough too to kind of share with everybody else to see what's going on. Anyways, to that person, and he knows who he is. I'm not going to name his name here. I guess all I could tell you is, geez, I feel your pain, and I honestly don't know what to tell you to do. What I can do is tell you about what I did. And if you probably remember, back in the summer of 2017, I was absolutely miserable. And I was making everybody else around me miserable. You know, if you remember, I had the flight school that God, I call them the flight students from hell, that I eventually closed down. I walked away from the house. I had just gone through a divorce, and I was just not happy with my life. It wasn't going anywhere. Certainly not anything that I wanted or expected. And I fought for a long time to make all that stuff work. You know, regarding the flight school, this would have been January of 2017. I spoke then to one of my friends who happened to be a student who was a retired bank CEO and attorney, and he said, you know, what we do is let's write a letter to all the students and tell them what's going on. And to that end, essentially what I did is I wrote a letter saying, hey, I'm going to close down the school in May. That would have been 6 months. And for those that had money on account, I'm going to take the money that you had given originally and subtract from that the costs of airplane rentals and flight training that you received. And then I'm going to sell everything, the planes and everything I had, and divvy that up amongst those people. And I said, if I don't hear from you by, May, that was 5-6 months, I assume you're just not interested anymore, because we're not talking about people that had just signed up for training. We're talking, in some cases, people have had money on the books for 4 years. One guy even 6 years. It's like, come on. My house. I hated my house. It was a leftover of my divorce. I couldn't afford to be there. I hated the house, and I hated the area. I kept it because of my boys. What a lot of people don't realize is part of my divorce settlement, I actually got custody of my kids. And then, of course, the divorce itself. I'm still angry about that, because to this day I have no real reason, understanding as to why all that happened. My ex, who I guess is now getting remarried, and I wish them all the happiness. But, she never told me anything. We went to counseling, she never said anything. And I'm angry not necessarily just because she walked away from me, but she walked away from her kids as well. She's a U.S. government employee, a GS-11 or whatever, making $65,000, $70,000 a year. And her court-appointed child payments were $400 a month. And after the last year, she didn't even pay that. She decided she wanted to save money to buy a car. There were days where literally I had to go down the food bank to get food for myself and the kids. I was that bloody poor. So I was not happy, and I just decided, screw this, I'm out of here. I walked away from everything. My youngest son had just gone off to Texas A&M for the maritime school. My older son had moved to Colorado. There was nothing keeping me there anymore, and I was gone. And as far as, I spoke earlier about relationships, how you've got 3 great relationships in your life. how you relate to yourself, to others, and your God. You know, I could go through those, what I was thinking anyways. Myself, you know, I tend to think that I'm a fairly nice guy. I'm not aggressive. I'm not a smoker or a gambler or a drinker or a drug addict. I'm not, you know, a molester or anything else like that. Most of the mistakes I have in my life deal with money, but I tend to be open-minded, and you know, I tend to think I'm a pretty good person, but I guess everybody thinks that of themselves anyways. I definitely relish freedom. I think, as I've said in one of my earlier videos, you know, the fact that you're alive gives you an ultimate dignity that nobody can take away, and as a result of that dignity, you are free. I very much dislike my perceptions being manipulated and people telling me what's in my best interests. You know, I have friends that sometimes tell me that absent of a government and rules, and I'm an anarchist. I'm not an anarchist. I'm just telling people that, hey, why, you know, if I'm not bothering anybody, why should my behavior be codified and altered? You know, for that reason, I'm a big proponent of the Freedom of Speech and Religion Amendment in the United States, our First Amendment, and certainly a diehard proponent for weapons in the United States. I don't care what the hell kind of gun people have. They're not doing anything. And so I'm very much for freedom in all its possibilities. And I don't understand people, or honestly just downright hate some people that try to take all those freedoms away. You know, I'm a risk taker. Very much a risk taker. When I left, I had a sailboat, and my plan was, with no real training or thinking through, was when I left the house and left everything, I was just going to go sail around the world, and that's what I'm still doing. And oftentimes I have no idea why I'm doing this, and I've scared the bejesus out of myself several times, especially when I've been by myself in the middle of the ocean on my little 36-foot boat, you know, in big seas, thinking, God, what am I doing here? When I left California on this trip, I left literally with $300 in my pocket. That's all I had. But I was willing to risk everything. So I do think I'm a risk taker. And I do get a kick out of those people that, you know, say on their emails, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Like, oh, give it up. You're not a freaking risk taker. You're not living on the edge. Living on the edge for you is you didn't have grape jelly for your peanut butter sandwich. You put on strawberry jam. For God's sakes. You want to live on the edge, go to Mumbai, India with the super poor, and, you know, they're living on the edge. Or sail across an ocean around the world by yourself with $300. That's maybe living on the edge. But I am most certainly an adventurer. You know, there's something in my makeup right now that I'm always interested in what's over the next horizon, and it keeps pushing me. And again, oftentimes I think, why am I even doing this? But it's kind of like I'm compelled to do it. I just keep going. So that's what I'm finding out about me. The other relationship, you know, God, if in fact you think he exists. Now, you know, remember, my college degree was in philosophy, so I've always been interested in metaphysics, and I'm probably going to have some of these videos talking about that. And yes, I'm 59, so sometimes I consider my own mortality and what that means and what happens when you die and all that kind of stuff. So I do think about that, and sometimes my thoughts on God are just purely reflective. You know, my Catholic upbringing, especially when I need something. God, please help. Maybe that's just a subconscious thing. I don't know, but that's what I do. And then how you relate to other people, and could chat about this a bit, but before I go there, I want to take a little diversion and talk about money. Yeah, you know, it is interesting because I go on these videos talking about how much I hate money, and then at the end I ask people, geez, send money. And I don't think that that's necessarily a major contradiction. I understand how the world works, that you need money for goods and services and to do things. But what I am suggesting is that you probably could get by with a lot less money than you think. And you could get by with a lot less than you think. You know, in 2018, the sum total of income that I had from donations and other stuff that I was able to do was $6,000. I lived on $6,000 for 1 year while I was sailing around the world, people talking about living on the dream. I mean, just think where that would put me in the poverty level in the United States, $6,000. Hell, I know people who make more than that a week. And I lived on it for a year, so I managed to do it. There were times where I wish I had more. You know, it was frustrating and not very convenient. But one of the things I did realize, and maybe to paraphrase, you know, the Rolling Stones, is you may not always get what you want, but I always got what I needed. It's either, you know, again, on a subconscious level, my drive pushed me, or maybe the universe was watching out for me. But the things I absolutely needed always manifested themselves, always showed up at the time that I most needed them. So, end result is, here I am, 18 months doing this, and I'm leaving here in another day or two to sail north up to New Caledonia and back to warmer weather, thank God. But, you know, I guess I'm just suggesting with money, yeah, you need it, but you'd be surprised how little you actually do need. Money controls people. To a lot of people, money is their, as I've said, their God. Bankers are their new prophets. And, you know, your whole life is lived around making money so you could buy stuff that you really don't need. And alternatively, you have a whole bunch of people that recognize that, and they go around trying to force your compliance by saying, if you don't do what we say, if you don't comply, we're going to take this all important money from you. So I don't have an answer. I just know it's not, there's something odd, something wrong with that. So yeah, you know, I do at the end of these things ask, hey, hit the like button, send a donation, because I'm trying to just eke along. But I guess what I think that I'm trying to do is sell what I would call intellectual property. You know, I write books and draw and stuff like that, and I'm not forcing anybody to do that. But well, that's my incomplete explanation as to, you know, here I am bemoaning people's always working for money and at the same time asking them. I may have a better answer later, who knows. But now to the last part, relationship with other people. You know, I have a lot of self-confidence. I love taking risks. I love being an adventurer. I'm super social, super social. Geez, everybody here in this marina knows me. I run the net. People said I was running for mayor, you know. Everybody, all the store keeps, everybody knows me. I like being with people. I like talking to people and learning from people. But unfortunately, I'm also super, super lonely. That's the part that I dislike the most, is I'm just incredibly lonely. You know, I come back to the boat at night and I turn on a video or two till I fall asleep. I do some of these podcasts, I do some work on the boat, but bottom line is I really miss a deep connection with another person that you know, is watching my back. That's we help each other. I miss that, and that's perhaps also one of the reasons why I'm still angry about the divorce, because I had thought that was the reason people got married, is to you know, literally see each other. Now, not just obviously looking and, oh gee, you're standing there, but see through that person, understand who that person is, and love them for all their frailties and all their dreams and all their failures. And, I love you, Tim. You as an individual. I really, 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 really miss that. And, I'm hopeful that maybe I will find somebody out there. God knows I keep looking, but I am gun shy because of this whole divorce thing. But that's part of life, I guess. Sex? I'm pretty much a born-again virgin. I don't even remember what it is. It's kind of a faint echo. And I'm not particularly interested anymore with just sex for sex sake. Again, I miss the intimacy, though, of being with somebody who really cares about you. And so that's right now, that's my biggest missing piece in my overall happiness. Not having a lot of money is frustrating. It's cumbersome, but it really doesn't do a heck of a lot to make me happy. I mean, come on, I'm sailing around the world on a small boat that I own, doing, as people say, living the dream. What I really miss the most is just the intimacy with another adult. Yes, I have a great relationship with my kids. My one son was just down here for 6 weeks, and my other son, I hope we're going to rendezvous in Africa, maybe even sail across the Atlantic Ocean. Their mother's antics, I think, have pretty much destroyed her relationship with them. But we have a great relationship. I love them, they love me, but face it, they're my children. I've got some really good friends out there that I've known for 30, 40 years, and we watch each other's back. But the bottom line is I really do miss the intimacy of having that one special person where you protect each other and you help each other through life and grow. So, yeah, I guess that's what I would say. Find out what you like, what makes you happy, and keep those things. Find out what's making you angry and miserable, and eliminate those things the best you can. Don't worry about the money. It's kind of cliche, but I guess if you were to ask people, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? Well, if your answer is, well, I'd still do what I'm doing, then that's great. You're there. If your answer is, oh, I wouldn't be doing this, or I wouldn't be with that person at all, then obviously that's something to think about. So, for me, I'm kind of getting to understand all this the money aspect, the cash aspect. But really what I most miss, as I said, is just the intimacy of being with in a loving relationship, an I-thou relationship, where you learn more about yourself through the eyes of another person that likes you for you, not for your money, not for your stuff, but for you. And whether you're rich or poor, sickness or health, or how that goes, I think there is some truth to that, but unfortunately it doesn't always work that way. Anyways, enough of my rambling. I got to go back on shore and get a few more jobs done before I get out of here. My crew's showing up tomorrow. I still got some boat work to do, and what can I tell you? So this is Tim saying, everybody have a great day, and I'll be back later.